Om Namah Shivaya Shantaya Jnanarupaya Shambhave Yoginam Hridaya Vase Mahadevaya Te Namaha. As we continue in the sacred current of the Linga Purana, the movement becomes quieter and more inward. The earlier portion spoke about the vastness of creation and the unfolding of the cosmos. But here, the focus turns towards something more intimate, the inner path established by Mahadev for the welfare of beings. It does not unfold like a system meant to impress the intellect. Instead, it feels like compassionate guidance, like Lord Shiva gently turning toward the restless mind and revealing a way back to stillness. The teaching speaks of subtle yogic zones within the body, the space between the throat and the navel, the region below the navel, and the luminous center between the eyebrows. These are not merely physical locations, but reminders that awareness can gather, that attention can settle, and that the journey inward is always available. Yoga, here, is not presented simply as posture or breath. It is described as the arising of knowledge within the soul, awareness recognizing itself, and even this awakening is said to arise through the grace of Mahadev. Concentration cannot be forced into existence. Grace unfolds gradually and quietly within the individual. As the teaching deepens, it becomes practical. The senses easily pull the mind outward, and stillness becomes difficult when attention is constantly scattered. Yoga is therefore described as the restraint of the mind, not suppression but steadiness. To support this steadiness, 8 means are described: yama, restraint; niyama, observances; āsana, posture; prāṇāyāma, the control of breath; pratyāhāra, the withdrawal of the senses; dhāraṇā, concentration; dhyāna, meditation; and samādhi, the ultimate absorption. These are not steps meant to conquer something, but layers of purification, like slowly clearing a mirror so that what is already present can be seen more clearly. The yamas, which is the restraint, form the foundation. Non-violence is described as seeing all beings as one's own self. Truth is spoken with accuracy and without causing harm. Non-stealing extends beyond action into thought and speech, and the discipline of desire is presented not as rejection of life, but as clarity, because when desire rules the mind, restlessness naturally follows. The teaching reflects deeply on human longing, reminding us that indulgence rarely brings lasting satisfaction. Like fire fed with ghee, desire often grows stronger when constantly indulged, and yoga therefore invites a different direction. Not repression, but understanding. The niyamas, the observances, turn the focus inward and include cleanliness, worship, penance, charity, study, silence, and devotion. One beautiful distinction appears here between outer purity and inner purity. A person may bathe in sacred rivers and still remain disturbed within. True purification comes through knowledge, detachment, and sincerity. The teaching speaks poetically of applying the ash of detachment and bathing in the waters of self-knowledge, not merely as a ritual, but remembrance. Breath, the prāṇāyāma, then becomes central. Prāṇāyāma is described as the root of meditation and samādhi, and the inner wind, which is naturally unstable, gradually becomes steady through patient practice. As the breath steadies, something subtle begins to change. The disturbances of the mind soften, and the speech becomes measured, and clarity begins to arise. The Purāṇa speaks of peace deeper peace, radiance, and clarity emerging through this discipline. And even the intellect itself becomes luminous. The guidance for practice is also very gentle, like choose a place that is peaceful, clean, and protected, perhaps near a shrine, in nature, or even in the quiet corner of one's own home. Sit steadily, withdraw the senses gently, and allow concentration to deepen. From dhāraṇā, concentration becomes steady, and from dhyāna, meditation becomes continuous, and from samādhi, awareness shines without distraction. Within that meditation appears the description of Lord Shiva, birthless, subtler than the subtlest, and beyond the grasp of all the senses, yet known through meditation as the very ground of awareness. At the same time, the teaching is deeply honest about the path, that obstacles will appear, lethargy, illness, doubts, lack of faith, confusion. Anyone who attempts stillness eventually encounters them. Even unusual experiences may arise, like insights, visions, and subtle abilities. Yet, these too can become distractions if the mind clings to them. For this reason, detachment becomes essential, and the seeker is reminded not to become fascinated by the powers or experiences, but to remain steady and humble. The teaching also reveals the qualities that delight Mahadev: truthfulness, kindness, generosity, humility, and self-control. Perfect knowledge is described as the discrimination between the sentient and the insentient, between the eternal and the transient. Yet, just when the path might begin to seem demanding, a deeper truth is revealed. Devotion itself becomes the gateway to liberation. Even if a seeker has not mastered every discipline of yoga, the one who sincerely turns toward Mahadev is not abandoned. The Lord gradually removes the delusions of the devotee. In a beautiful dialogue between Mahadev and Mata Parvati, this truth becomes clear. When asked how he may be realized, whether through penance, learning, or yoga, Mahadev responds that he is known through faith and devotion. He is to be meditated upon in the Liṅga, the silent symbol of the infinite that both Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu once beheld. Faith becomes the highest virtue. Faith becomes knowledge. Faith becomes sacrifice, and faith becomes liberation. And through that faith, the Lord becomes visible within the heart. When we step back from these teachings, the disciplines of yoga, the purification of mind and breath, the obstacles along the path, something very simple begins to appear. The path is given. The effort is ours. But the final opening comes through grace, His grace. The mind may wander and doubts may arise, and the senses may pull us outward. Yet, none of these close the path, because beyond discipline, beyond knowledge, and beyond even the techniques of yoga, there remains something deeper: devotion. The heart that remembers Mahadev is never truly lost. Through faith, the mind becomes steady. Through remembrance, confusion begins to dissolve. And through devotion, the distance between the seeker and Mahadev slowly disappears. And perhaps the most comforting truth of all this is, we do not need perfection to approach Mahadev, only sincerity. We can practice when we can, return when the mind wanders, keep the breath steady and the heart humble, and remember that Mahadev is seen through devotion. May Jagat Pita Mahadev bless us all. Keep seeking, keep chanting, keep surrendering. Om Namah Shivaya.